The first sign was a blur on a radar screen, fast-moving contacts skipping across the Gulf of Mexico, heading straight for the Texas coastline. These were not simple commercial vessels or local fishermen. They were cartel assault boats, armored, armed, and loaded with illegal narcotics and gunmen. Within moments, the U.S. Navy's Coastal Command understood this was more than a mere smuggling run. It was an attempted incursion. The action that followed became one of the most decisive military strikes ever taken against a criminal cartel force. It served as undeniable proof that America's sea borders are not open for invasion. When the enemy flotilla was detected, the Aegis combat system aboard the USS Gravely began tracking every hostile movement. Dozens of radar contacts appeared on the ship's screens. Each represented a small, high-speed boat traveling in a planned formation. These were modified narco-craft, built with reinforced hulls, radar-reflective coatings, and mounted weapons. Intelligence at this time, their confidence was met with overwhelming military force. This encounter would redefine how the United States defends its maritime boundaries. The decisive U.S. response was made possible by a strategic shift. Under the administration's new policy, cartels were no longer treated as simple criminal networks, but as terrorist organizations. This key reclassification opened the door for direct military engagement. The U.S. Navy, the Coast Guard, and Special Operations units were given clear authorization to use force to dismantle cartel operations at sea. This was not traditional policing, it was warfare. The standing order was clear: intercept and neutralize the cartel boats before they could reach U.S. waters. Cartel groups had used fast boats and narco submarines for decades to move drugs north. But this event was different. It was an organized assault. That doctrine is clear. Cross into American waters, and the response will be military, not merely judicial. This was about setting a profound precedent. One visible strike was calculated to stop 100 attempts. The U.S. military had now decisively crushed the cartel plan to overwhelm coastal patrols. Guided missile destroyers equipped with the Aegis system, along with littoral combat ships and Coast Guard cutters, now operate in overlapping zones. These assets are coordinated in real time by the Navy's Maritime Operations Center. These critical missions successfully integrate real-time intelligence from the DEA, the FBI, and Mexican partner naval forces. Drone surveillance now covers all key transit points across the Caribbean and the Gulf. Naval aircraft constantly monitor potential launch sites. What once took weeks of investigation can now be acted upon in mere hours. This level of operational tempo is the new standard. The technology behind the triumph was the Aegis combat system. It was the undisputed heart of the entire operation. The system's integrated radar, electronic warfare modules, and missile guidance allowed the USS Gravely to detect, track. The financial and material loss was staggering, but the psychological blow was devastating. Cartel networks suddenly realized their maritime operations could be dismantled by military-grade precision. They could neither control nor predict this new battlefield. This decisive shift also sent a strong signal to U.S. allies and to global rivals observing the Gulf. To allies like Mexico, it proved that coordinated U.S. action could decisively disrupt organized crime. To rival nations, it demonstrated that America's military readiness extends far beyond state conflict. National defense now includes striking unconventional threats before they ever reach the borders. The legacy of the engagement began immediately. In the months following the operation, cartel maritime incursions into the Gulf dropped sharply. Intelligence reports confirmed that smuggling operations had been forced to reroute inland. They were actively avoiding the newly fortified maritime corridor altogether. The continuous presence of guided missile destroyers along the Texas coast became a deterrent in itself. Every element of the successful operation, the initial radar locks, the drone tracking, when the cartel boats finally move, they are walking into a battlefield that was already designed against them. Their margin for escape is, quite simply, zero. Despite the overwhelming dominance of the technology, the entire operation still relied on the human element. It relied on SEALs, Marines, and naval aviators trained for extreme precision. They operated in complete darkness, with saltwater spray-cutting visibility and gunfire echoing across the waves. Yet, in those chaotic seconds, professional discipline completely overrides panic and adrenaline. The objective remains control, not vengeance. The professionalism with which these forces execute their mission is what truly makes them feared. Even their opponents, once captured, often expressed disbelief at the sheer speed and coordination they faced. The message received is unmistakable. Once you cross the line, the fight is already over. These rapid interdictions mark a new and decisive era in counter-cartel warfare. The traditional cat-and-mouse game, involving fast boats and slow chases, is now obsolete. Modern enforcement mirrors military combat doctrine: detect, fix, finish. It is a model that will surely extend beyond the seas, reaching into the air, land, and cyber domains where these criminal networks attempt to operate globally. This event was not an isolated success. It was a clear glimpse of how multi-domain operations will define future conflicts. Behind every successful interception lies a profound psychological victory. The cartels now know that U.S. waters are no longer porous. Every route they test, every shipment they send, risks total and devastating loss within minutes. That fear alone disrupts their logistics, fractures their criminal alliances, and forces them into far less efficient smuggling methods. In military terms, deterrence has been achieved. And deterrence, once forcefully earned, saves lives long after the battle is over. What the world witnessed was not a matter of mere luck. It was a display of mastery, that speed, intelligence, and precision can collapse even the most elusive threats. Technology provides the powerful tools, but it is coordination that wins the fight. The sea may be vast and unforgiving, but for those who challenge its borders under the U.S. flag, it is no longer a place to hide. This takedown was just the start. The fight isn't finished. On your screen is the next video. Click the video, it opens right away, and you'll see the cartels crushed even harder.